Welcome to Paradelphia Radio. This is Rick Pruitt once again here on my back porch during quarantine. And I am joined once again by our illustrious Toxic Radio owner and producer, Mr. Toxic Mike.
Hi.
There
Hello.
he is.
How you guys doing? I'm here.
I did not lie. And this week we actually have a bonus because we actually have two of our crew that are going to join us. One you probably haven't seen since the Dark Ages. We'll introduce him last, but the one you have seen more recently is Miss Jenna B.
Hey, hoes.
Hey.
Hey, hoes. That's how we started off.
You're forgetting there's an additional person every time you see me now.
Yes, I know. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. Congratulations. Yeah. I think it's the first time you've been on air since
I know it has.
Since that. So congratulations on the pending.
Yeah. Yes, congratulations. I'm glad it's not gas this time. That's the extra guest.
It's the gas is still there, Mike. Don't you worry.
Absolutely. And joining us will be Mr. Uncle Doug.
Uncle Doug.
for the first time in a what do they call it? A dog's age?
Yeah. Yes, it has been because it was crazy how everything worked. I had kidney stones for the first time ever. And it wasn't just a normal kidney stone. It got stuck, and I had to have them pretty much kick me by air to make them smaller. But I'm good now.
They didn't call me for that. I could have done that for free.
Yeah, right. It felt, let's put it this way, after it was done, it felt like I was kicked. But yeah, I'll tell you, like I said, I've never had kidney stones before. It was a hell of an experience. But yeah, I don't ever want to have that happen again.
Doug is coming to us from Max Headroom's old apartment.
Oh, is that what that is? I was wondering.
Actually, well, it's funny because, believe it or not, this is how dark our living room is. I mean, the main light's off. I mean, I do have a small light on me, but like if you could see, it's actually all decorated up with nothing but like horror genre and like. I have a Lady Gaga poster over here, which is Melly's, but everything else is Nightmare Before Christmas.
Well, that's horrible too. So.
It's hers. Gotcha.
So, but yeah, but yeah, I love darkness.
So Doug, you've been gone a while here. So we've
yeah.
What do you say, Mike? What are you laughing at? He loves darkness.
I love you just out of nowhere. I love darkness.
I love darkness.
So when I come home, it's just nothing but dark.
There was that
dark in the light, just everything dark.
There was that meme a few days ago. What the hell was it now? Something about turning the lights off, or was it what I sing to my kids? It said "kids" on the meme, but it was like the country singer that sings that song. Something about turn the lights off, or I'm going to turn off the light in the house.
Turn the lights down low.
And I put it up. And I put it up in reference to Taryn because she's the same way.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry. She's the opposite. I'm sorry. That's the same way. She's the opposite. Mm-hmm. She likes all the lights on.
It's like sun shining in, you know? I understand. I got you.
Yeah.
Running up the dang electric bill. That's what Rick sounds like a grandpa.
Right. Light's been on for about 5 seconds. That's enough.
Yeah. It really does say something about people who love the sun and then people who just love the dark.
Right.
There's definitely something there.
I'll tell you right now, during this kidney stone stuff with the blood work, they actually gave me a prescription of vitamin D that I have to take once a week.
Instead of going, why go outside when I can take this pill?
Why go outside when I can just take this pill and get sunshine in a pill? So, you know.
Doug's going to walk out and be burnt to a crisp.
Right, yeah.
All right, so let's move on here to our special guest this week. We do have one. He's waiting back in the on deck circle here very patiently. You guys have seen him on our air before. It's been a while, but Mr. Barry Strohm. Barry, welcome back to Paradelphia.
Hey, thanks for having me back. Oh, and Doug, by the way, I've had 14 kidney stones.
Wow.
Oh my God, sir, God bless you. I had 3. And
I think
it was
if you get one more, you get
nightmare.
the 16th free.
Oh, well, I Hey, God bless you, sir.
I know from whence you speak on these.
So for those of you who have not seen the shows before, when Barry's been on, he is a local gentleman born near Hershey, PA, but he's now residing out in Park City or near Park City, Utah. And he and his lovely wife Connie, who is Connie there with you today?
No,
No,
she's upstairs making dinner, I hope.
Okay. So Barry, originally, and you correct me if I'm wrong here, I'm reading off an old bio here, but it started out with paranormal photography with you, and it kind of progressed into more of learning about the afterlife and the presences around us, and that kind of morphed into you doing your spirit board, where you were doing your channeling sessions, and you weren't just channeling random entities or random figures. You were going specifically for the more famous, well-known figures, or how did that go? Does that how that happened? Is it kind of they just came to you, or did you purposely seek out the more famous spirits?
Well, in the beginning, we were just thankful to be channeling any spirits we could get a hold of that would come through for us. But then I started getting the idea of writing that conspiracy book, and we wound up trying to speak with famous spirits, which we did. In that book, we did 27 different conspiracies, channeled Jack Kennedy, George Patton, Billy the Kid.
Right. Yeah, that was the first time you were on. I think we had that book.
Yeah, for that was probably the first time. But no, we started off there in Golden Lane talking to all the local spirits. That's how we got started. And then,
so how? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I'm assuming that people who are watching, maybe I'm wrong, but some people, they've probably seen you on before or heard you on before. But for those of them who haven't, how is it you go about doing this channeling? Because you have a very unique way of, well, let me back up. You used to have a very specific way to do it that you don't use anymore. But why don't we start there with how you used to do it, then you can move on to how you're doing it now.
Well, we started off with the channeling board, and it was a special board, not a Ouija. It was something the spirits designed for us themselves. And I started to realize when I was hitting the first letter of words that I was hearing the word in my head. So for a while we would channel, we'd just hit the first letter and I'd be able to speak the word. And we work with spirit guides. Everybody has spirit guides. And it's just a matter of being able to learn to communicate with them. And, I asked the guides what was going on, and they said, you don't need the board anymore. Just have enough confidence, and you will just simply be able to speak the words. So for the last, 3 years now, we've just simply been channeling the spirit. When we ask for a spirit, I'll kind of go into this little light trance, and the next words that I'll be speaking will be the words of that spirit. And when we do, we've done a Speaking to Spirits series on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. And we've channeled over 30 famous people on there now. We've done Robin Williams, Marilyn Monroe.
Wow.
Thomas Jefferson. We actually did one session with Pontius Pilate.
What?
And he told us his side of the crucifixion, what took place. We've done, just yesterday, we posted an interview with Martin Luther King, where we talked about all the violence that's going on, what's taking place. Yeah, that's it. And it's an excellent interview. He has some very strong opinions about what's taking place, what should be taking place. Talks about the civil rights leaders, what's happening. We asked him about 35 different questions, and he answered them for us. When we do these interviews, I make up the questions. Connie will ask them, and I will just simply speak the answers. So when we started, I would ask the questions and the answers, and that got kind of mixed up. So. But we've got 30 different interviews in that series right now. The next one we're going to be with John Lennon.
Oh, very cool.
Man, wow.
We haven't filmed that one yet, but that's going to be the next one that we're up to.
So when you say the next one, is that something that you are unilaterally choosing to do, or is that something that you were told is the next person in line, for lack of a better way to put it? How does that work?
Sometimes I'm told who they want to do next, but in this case, I was doing another live call-in show where we were channeling live, and the caller asked if I could bring Lennon in, which I did. I asked him some questions. And when we went to break, I talked to him and asked him if he'd do an interview for us, and he said he would love to do it. So that'll be the next one we do.
And you know what's so fascinating about this itself is the fact that Rick, myself, and a couple other people, we were fortunate of you invited you and your wife, us to come up to your business there, and we saw you guys using just the channeling board, just seeing that firsthand. And I think that I told you this before, it was nothing personal, but I remember I stared at your guys' hands and your movements and everything when you guys first started, just to kind of make sure for myself, in a sense, that it was, nothing to kind of mess with anyone. And I'll tell you from firsthand, it was so fascinating because you guys, I literally thought at sometimes you guys weren't touching that glass, and the responses that you were getting and the information, which I know were at some points personal to me and Gavin, it was unbelievable because, you guys at that time, well, still in a sense, acquaintances, you don't know really anything personal. So that it's fascinating. You have this gift now where you don't even need the board.
Yes, it's kind of fascinating myself. I'm amazed at all this stuff taking place as well, and I'm amazed at the spirits that we've talked to. We've actually started another series where we're channeling with angels.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
We've done 7 of the archangels, which is also up on the YouTube channel, and I invite people to listen to it. And believe it or not, everything we do, we present in live time. We don't edit the videos, and what you see is what you get, and you can make up your own mind whether we're actually doing it or not.
Like I said, I saw it firsthand, and it's good. I'll tell you, you guys are legit.
Well, getting back to the mechanism, like now you said you hear it, you hear it in your head. I saw you do the board and it was your own board that you created. It wasn't, for anybody at home, it's not a Ouija board, like a typical Ouija board. You guys created your own. It was similar to that, but it was a totally different look to it. And you did it with like a glass, like a shot glass or something.
Yeah, what we did is we actually channeled with the spirit guides and asked them how they wanted the board designed.
That's right.
Yeah, and what it is, the letters and numbers are in a circle, a couple other commands on it, and we used glass. We covered it with glass and framed it, and then we used actually a small beaker of hot poured quartz.
Okay.
Connie and I would put our fingers on this and it would take off. And amazing how fast that thing could move around when they were spelling the words.
And so now the way you do it is you write the messages down or the questions down. Connie reads them and you give the answers.
Yeah, I speak the words of the spirit.
So, and I'm trying to think of how, like, I've had a situation one time. Gene knows about this because I talked to Gene Durkin, about this a couple of years ago. I've had situations in my life where nothing like what you're doing, but I've had, I guess you would call it intuition. One particular time, long story short, I left the house. I got this 3 or 4 blocks away, got this overwhelming panic that I had left the back door open. Now we have a lot of animals here, so.
Yes, I know.
If the back door was open, that would be a big problem, obviously. So I called Taryn, and the back door wasn't wide open, but it also wasn't shut completely either. And at the time, one of our dogs was having a problem. Not the problem, but she was getting into the trash that was by the back door. And if she would have done that at the time, she could have very easily pulled that door open. So that instinct to call and worry about that out of the clear blue, like that just kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. And from what Gene was saying, that was sort of like an angel on my shoulder, so to speak, whispering in my ear. Is that sort of what you're talking about when you're getting this answer to these questions, or is it something else entirely?
No, it's something else entirely. It's just, I just speak the words naturally. It just, the words come to me, and that's.
So there's no thought involved.
I'm not actually hearing it and repeating it now.
I was going to say, do you turn? Does it seem like you turn? You say you're speaking the words. I mean, does it seem like, do you have like, in a sense, blackout moments, so to speak, to where it's almost like you're becoming that person?
I have little memory of what I do, of what I'm speaking. I actually go back and listen to it later to hear a lot of what it is. I know some of I can remember parts of it, but I mean, we can do in half an hour, we can do 3,000 to 4,000 words now.
Have you ever tried to do it without hearing it? Have you ever tried to do it without hearing the question? Like if Connie wrote the question or thought the question, and then you answered based on that. Like, have you ever tried that, or do you literally have to hear the question?
No, I can mentally transmit a question and have them answer. But for clarity, obviously, when you're doing something live on YouTube, they have to hear the question so you can hear the answer. So
right. I'm not talking about YouTube necessarily, but yeah.
And I can understand, kind of, because I know a lot of times I've had questions, in cases, especially when I talk about, like, if Gene comes in and people kind of ask when I say, oh, well, she'll call or whatnot, they'll say, well, how will she know anything calling versus not being here? And it's like what I try to explain to people, and I guess in a sense of a scientific level, is, the spirit world versus us. I mean, think of us still as like the spirits in the spirit world, only we are in a vehicle, and that limits us to what we can do and what we're capable of communication-wise, to where in the spirit world, they have that capability, like you just said, mentally communicating and whatnot. So, I mean, am I kind of pinpointing exactly the kind of idea there?
Yeah, in the beginning, I would hear words and react to them. For instance, when I was writing the first book on the battlefield, one night I was out by myself in the dark taking photographs for the book, and there was a special area where I always got a lot of activity, and I was walking down this wooded path, and in my head I heard, just as clear as could be, "Stop, don't go." I turned around, walked about 25 feet, and this big tree fell right on the trail where I would have been.
Wow.
So, but that was that was just clearly a message that was transmitted to me. Later on, once we got into the channeling, at the time I thought it was a guardian angel type of thing. But once we got into the channeling, I found out that in my prior life, I had actually been a Confederate officer that fought at that spot on the battlefield at Gettysburg. And in that instance, it was the soldiers that I fought with that warned me that tree was going to fall. So, Connie had her life saved by my father one time. So the whole guardian angel concept is really a little bit different than what we think it is. Quite often, it's just souls that are related to you on the other side that are helping.
So are there conditions that you find more conducive to accuracy, like whether it's something internal, like whether you feel sick or healthy, whether it's a weather condition outside, rainy, sunny, anything external or internal that you think would be more or less conducive to success?
If I'm tired, I have problems with it.
Okay.
Sometimes when I'm channeling for like an hour at a time, it's tiring. So sometimes at the end of it, I'm not as accurate as I am when I start. We do one radio show where we take call-ins for 2.5 hours, and I'm much more accurate in the front part of the show than the back part. So
okay.
I'm an old fart, so I get tired easily.
Well, it makes sense. Well, and Gina said that too when she does her
Right.
readings. I mean, you see how tired she gets when she does readings. Well, on our show, she'll sit there for 45 minutes to an hour and do readings on our show and be exhausted afterwards.
And then she
Yeah.
goes and gets herself a big cheeseburger. That's what she always says. She gets a cheeseburger after
Well,
reading.
I mean, that's like an active investigation with us. I mean, if a lot's going on the next morning, that's why I call it investigation hangover. You know, because it will drain you. You know, physically.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys want to try to channel a spirit? I can try it if you got somebody you want to talk to.
I
Sure.
have a suggestion. I mean, if it's possible, I don't know if anyone else does.
Go ahead,
Who
Doug.
would you like to talk to?
Well, one of the people that I admire. I'm so interested in space. And what about Neil Armstrong, the first man to walk on the moon?
Okay, I work with a master.
It's weird.
I work with a master guide named Laura. So I'm going to.
Okay.
Laura, can we speak with Mr. Armstrong? Yes, we can get him for you. How can I help you? What is your question?
Well, talk about an opportunity here. I guess my big question is, obviously, we all know what you are famous for, and being the first man or person to step foot on the moon. We know what you said, but internally in your mind at that moment, before you spoke those words, like what kind of feeling did you have?
Well, needless to say, I was very excited. And we had prepared the words that we wanted to speak. We were aware that the world was watching, and it was very important. So the words that I spoke, one step for mankind, that was something we had agreed upon. But internally, I had many, many thoughts going through my mind. I want you to know that even as we walked on the moon, we were not certain that we were going to be able to ever get home. So yes, it was very emotional for us.
Neil, did you see any signs of any habitation or anything odd on the moon that was not made public?
Yes, we actually did see a vehicle. We had code words that we used at the time. So we let NASA know that we were not alone up there. Of course, we were not allowed to speak openly about it.
Right.
That was very clearly put into our minds before we took off.
Wow.
So then is it true? Not long after you stepped foot out, you were switched to a medical channel and spoke to someone directly about where they asked you, are they there with you? That is a true conspiracy.
Let us just say that there were certain things that we were not allowed to speak of. We were prepared to see other forms. We were trained how to react. So it was not totally unexpected to us what we saw.
Which means it was not unexpected to NASA prior to the mission.
That is correct.
What is your opinion of the current program now, space program, and what they're trying to do?
In some respects, I feel that that what is being disclosed is realistic and can be achieved. However, there is much happening that is not publicly disclosed. You will find that in the very near future, there will be news that will verify much of the rumors that you have heard
about space, aliens, space life.
Yes.
Okay.
Who can say that there is not life out there? We have certainly known it for many, many years.
Jen, you have anything? Big chance.
I don't even know what to ask Neil Armstrong. This is a big moment.
What about you, Doug?
Honestly, it's, again, with it being such a sudden opportunity, you know, so much, but I will say that the opportunity to have this opportunity, I admire you. I admire what you overcame, because a lot of people don't know that, you struggled during that time of training with the loss of your daughter, and I'm sure mentally it was tough, but you overcame a lot, and to accomplish that as well as your team, it's something else. So you definitely are. I'm sure you didn't expect to be a man and historical figure.
Well, we knew we would either be historical or we would be dead. Either way, people would know who we were. And yes, I thank you for those kind words. And it was a very, very difficult time for me personally. So I want to thank you for asking for me tonight. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. I have spoken with Barry before, and I appreciate his abilities to let us from the other side speak to you. So thank you for having me. Thank you for believing in us. And therefore, I'm going to say good night.
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong.
Good night.
Thank you.
And that's how it works.
Wow.
Interesting.
And that's amazing to get information to say that, hey, it's crazy to know they knew all about alien life beforehand. It was no shock to them. So that's pretty crazy. Wow, that's amazing.
We actually have an interview with him up on our YouTube channel. We spoke to him before as one of our Speaking to Spirit series. So you can hear about a 30-minute interview with him.
Nice.
Oh, I'm definitely gonna be checking that out. Wow, I don't know why Neil Armstrong popped in my head. Of all the people in history, it's like the first name that just popped into my head.
Laura is saying that they assisted you in that he was ready to speak.
Yeah.
So Barry, how do you handle skeptics when it comes to this?
I ignore them. Very simply put, they either believe it or they don't. It's not my place to convince anybody.
Ignore the haters. That's it.
Totally ignore them. I don't pay any attention to them. In the beginning, it used to bother me. Now,
Hi, Gene.
Now I could care less.
Yeah.
I always say it exists whether people believe it or not. So hey,
I've backed up many things that I've told. We did a channeling session for the COVID-19 thing, and in my session we stated very clearly that it came from a Chinese lab, and we said it long before it was in the news.
Wow.
So we do a lot of things that are predictions. Some of the things that we say come true, most of them. And he's given me certain physical abilities that I've been able to use. We've been able to heal people through prayer. And people can believe it or they don't have to.
Well, I know about that personally.
Huh?
I said I know about that personally.
Do you?
I do. Well, I'm here, aren't I?
The first thing I wanted to do was I asked to speak with you.
Well, I didn't hear what you said.
Huh?
I didn't hear what you just said.
No, I said when I heard about your problem, the first thing I asked for was to speak with you.
Oh, yeah. No, I know you did. Yeah, and I appreciate that. Yeah. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, when I first got diagnosed with cancer last year, back in early September, Barry, as he just said, was asking, I think he asked Gene or somebody to put him in contact with me because, ironically, about a month or 6 weeks before I had that diagnosis, we had you on. It was the last time you were on the show prior to this. And at that time on the show, I remember you talking about how you had developed this ability, this healing ability. And you told a couple of stories in that episode about healing somebody. I forget, it was on like a migraine or something you would help somebody with or something. But you've also done more serious work too. And when I first got diagnosed, you asked about talking to me, and we sat down for might have been 5 minutes over Skype. And you and Connie did prayer. And, I mean, here I am. And I'm, as I've talked about a couple weeks ago, my last scan was completely clear, and, my numbers are way down. So, I mean, I can't argue.
Yeah, I have about 4 good hard stage 4 cancer cases that are still around.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm glad to be one of them.
Yeah.
Well, I knew what your outcome was going to be before we started.
Yeah, you were very confident, and honestly, I was too. I mean, I in a situation like that, I kind of feel like you have to be. You can't. You can't go the other way. That doesn't do any good.
The most important thing is you have to believe.
Right.
That's what I told you in the beginning. Don't ever doubt that you're going to beat it, because you won't. And as long as you believe it and you've got God behind you, you're going to make it.
Yeah.
And like you just said, Rick, I mean, you would, it would make it, in my opinion, it would be worse and just make someone's health worse in a situation like that, worrying about it and not thinking you're going to beat it. So like you just said, you said it perfectly. You just can't, you got to have that thought process. So.
Yeah. So, I said it before and I'll say it again. I thank you and Connie for doing that for me. And, I can't deny it. I'm sitting here and I'm healthy as can be. So,
yes, you are, and you will continue to.
It's good news. I can harass Doug for years to come.
Yes,
that's all right. Yeah. Hey, just hey, make sure I don't have. The one thing I ask is make sure I don't have kidney stones ever again. So
Well, I wish I had had this power before I had them.
I was going to say, I was waiting for you to say, well, I can heal all kinds of things, not kidney stones, unfortunately. That would be just my luck,
It's the one thing.
Well, that's the one thing, right?
Well, he saves after the really, really important thing. Like, he performed a miracle on me 2 years ago. I had a heart attack. Wow. I've had quad bypass 4 years ago. But
yeah, you told that story, but you can tell it again because it's been a year.
Right.
Okay. No, I was watching a University of Utah football game, and all of a sudden I'm starting to feel the signs. So I go down. Long story short, they admit me, do all the tests. They show me on the video the damage to my heart, tell me it's not getting oxygen, go through all the crap that you do before you go into the surgery. I'm laying waiting to come into the surgery, and in my third eye, I see this figure approaching, and it's actually an angel. And I'm seeing it in my head, and it comes up in front of me and flies off. And I said, Connie, don't worry about anything. We're good here. When I come out from the surgery, I said, okay, how many stents? What do we do? The doctor says I couldn't find any heart damage. We totally looked for it. Your heart's healthy. All the surgery, the bypass is fine, and you have absolutely no heart damage. And I had just seen it 2 hours before on the TV screen.
Right.
So when
it's like somehow you miraculously became a liar on the surgery table.
Correct. The surgeons had no idea what was going on. And when I was in recovery, very clearly in my head, I hear, if I can have you heal others, I can heal you as well. So he performed, when that angel came up to me, he performed a healing, and I'm still here.
That's amazing.
I walked almost 4 miles around here the other day, so it's it's still beating pretty good. It's getting me back.
Oh,
and
no
we've
doubt.
talked on the show a lot about manifesting your reality in different contexts.
Mhm.
It's even gone to the point where it's gotten into scientific terms at this point because they've, without getting into the nuts and bolts of it, basically it's been proven that your intention drives reality on at least on a quantum level. So if it can happen on a quantum level, it can happen on larger levels. It just makes sense that it would just, you could do it there as well. So when you hear this, believe in this or believe in yourself or believe, you hear that all, everybody talks about that going back to the gurus of the 1980s that would be on, TV spouting their wares or whatever. But there is science behind it. There is actual proof of that behind it. And it's interesting because it's, you were talking about this last time you were on.
Yeah, and I mean he did a healing on Connie 3 weeks ago. We got that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we got here, and all of a sudden she was having eye problems, and she was blurry and losing her vision in her right eye. We took her down to we got really good doctors out here in Utah, so we took her down to one of the eye centers here. Doctor looked at her, shows her the photograph of an artery in the back of her eye that is in danger of breaking. Says, I got to get you to a retina specialist immediately. She goes she comes back and she says, my eyes, I'm starting to be able to see again. She goes down to the retina center and the retina specialist says, your eye is perfect. You will never have to see me again.
Wow.
So
oh my goodness.
Days, she went from being rushed into a retina specialist to having her eye being perfect. So I've seen it too many times now. It's just, we can do this thing.
Once could be a coincidence, but that many times there's got to be something to it.
Oh yeah.
Right. Exactly. I mean,
yeah. So when you're doing these channeling sessions, Barry, do you ever or have you ever felt in danger because you're opening up yourself to, what you're intending to be a specific person, entity, spirit, however you want to say it, but when you're opening up that portal, couldn't other things slide in there as well?
Yes, very occasionally, because I'm really well guarded by the guides. I mean, I've kind of got this special relationship with them, or I wouldn't be able to do this. And bear in mind, we always start every session with a prayer of protection that was given to us by the guides. We have had people try to slip in, and generally I can feel the energy shift, and we just immediately cut it off and stop. But
so you can put a stop to it immediately and not have you have control over that, basically.
We have good control. We're well protected.
Okay.
I tell people we're training a lot of people to use the channeling board now. And one thing the first thing that they ever told us when they started training us on the board was never ever ask for evil.
Oh,
makes sense.
So somebody wants me to try to channel with like a Hitler or somebody like that. No way, we don't do it. We only try to channel with positive energies. And if I feel anything negative at all, we just cut it right off.
Well, let me ask you this, because I've heard, and use Hitler for an example, just because it's, obviously a famous one. People like that, I've heard this from various people who do afterlife studies, past life studies, mediumship, that when you die and you go into wherever it is you go, basically your soul is cleansed, and whatever you've done in this life, you kind of learn from that, and you go on, and your next incarnation, hopefully you've learned lessons based on what you've done in this life. So if that's true, you're saying don't channel Hitler, but if you're channeling him at this point, 60, 70 years later, wouldn't he have, I don't know, gotten better? To put it in a simple way.
See, that is not the way we understand it.
Okay.
What we are told is that when the soul passes, it is judged. Because the whole intent of reincarnation and multiple lives is that you are learning to advance in the realms of heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you lead an evil life. There are 7 realms plus a lower level. Not the hell and brimstone and fire, but that there is an area of nothingness where the truly evil people are sent. And they can be there for thousands of years. And it is when the soul understands what it's done, at that time it is allowed to come back and live lifetimes, but those lifetimes will pay for the karma that it's created in that lifetime of evil.
Wow.
So it won't be a very good life when they come back.
No,
For quite a while.
For quite a while, right, yeah.
Quite a while.
Like one time I asked,
Wow.
what happened to the individuals that had Christ crucified? And the answer was they were sent to the lower level. I said, where are they now? They're still there. So it's all a relative thing. But when they return, like you could have been a master guide sent back on a mission, and you lead a life of evil, and you're sent back down. When you come back out, you are in the first level, the lowest level, the lowest realm, which isn't that great. As you progress in the realms, it becomes better and better. So that is why the incentive to advance is the reason the soul reincarnates. But what they tell us is the first thing is the soul judges itself, and then your guides judge, and a decision is made whether you live the life to your plan, or whether you have failed in the life that you sent back, and you can be sent back one realm, you can be sent back the whole way down to the lower area, or you can advance. And that's why it takes these millions of lifetimes to achieve the seventh or upper realm. Because what you're trying to do is to become godlike, more like God in his sense of love and understanding and all the things. And there's no way that your soul can advance simply by being a human. You have to actually reincarnate on other planets for other learning experiences. Your soul energy's been around since creation. Humans have walked the earth for about 250,000 years. So even though our souls are present in human form, in prior lifetimes, humans weren't available, so you had to be in other forms. So
that's why I always say this is just our vehicle. That's why I am.
This body, a human lifetime is a blink in the eye of the life of the soul.
So you've talked in the past about channeling alien life forms, and I'm assuming when you talk about that, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming you're talking about literal off-planet life forms.
I'm talking about souls that have lived off-planet in their last lifetime.
Yeah, but have you ever, or could you ever, channel between dimensions? Is that possible? Are there interdimensional beings that you could reach?
We live in a 3-dimensional life. There are many, many dimensions out there that none of us understand. For instance, they tell us that Bigfoot is multidimensional.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that. That's why he'll be there and suddenly disappear. I've heard that theory.
They have the ability to move into that unseen dimension. The alien ships have the ability to be seen or unseen. So this is all characteristics of advanced cultures and civilizations. Now, I have never tried to channel a Bigfoot, for instance, or all of the channeling that I've done with aliens have been spirits that are not in body form. they have all died. For instance, Mu died in 1982 of our years.
Mm-hmm.
So once they go to the other side, the soul energy is identical to the human energy, because there's no difference in soul energies. So I have the ability to speak to those energies when they're on the other side.
There's no difference between, like you said, there's no human, there's no, like, it's just like, yeah, one main thing, that's it. It doesn't matter where you come from, like, situation.
Yeah, soul energy is a soul energy.
Right.
And
so,
and when I wrote the alien books, I spoke with my friend named Mu, and he's not reachable now because he's back on another planet. He's reincarnated, so I cannot reach him anymore. But
how long has it been?
Mu?
Well, his real name was Mutavor, but we called him Mu for short.
Oh my god!
I remember when you had talked about him, but how long ago has it been since you've made contact and spoke with him?
We haven't seen him for about 3 years now.
Oh, okay. And he give you the heads up, like, hey, I'm getting ready to.
Absolutely. When we first met him, when he first came in for us, he said, "I will be available to you for several years, and then I have to move on to I have a mission that I have to move on to." And that was accurate. We had him for about 2 years.
So
Can
your
these,
ability to... Go ahead, Doug.
No, I'm sorry. I just can, when you do channel these like the alien life forms, do they have, or have they ever given you specific like locations as to like what part of the universe or where they come from, maybe what galaxy or whatnot, like where they're specifically from, or is it just?
Oh yeah, sure.
Oh really? Okay, got it. I didn't know if
Mu was from a planet called Robe, or OBBE. It's on the far spiral of the Milky Way. And the soul forms that we're familiar with are restricted to the Milky Way, because our God is the God of our galaxy.
Right now, okay, gotcha.
And there's life forms out there that have been around for hundreds of millions of years, the very advanced forms.
So our God is the God of our galaxy. I remember something about this. You said so. There's more than one for different galaxies.
Yes, each galaxy has its own God, and each one is different. The life forms are different. What is expected is different, and that's why the life forms of our galaxy get along. Why they haven't destroyed each other.
Is there one overriding God, so to speak?
There's actually a hierarchy of gods. Yes.
This is so that's like the main god, like or so to speak.
Yeah, well, just like I asked them, how was the galaxy? How was the universe formed? And they said part of the Big Bang theory is correct. They said what really happened was all the gods got together, and that they shared their energy, and the colossal energy is what created the universe that we have today.
So it was just one big unit at one point, and they were like, "Hey, we want to control our own little real estate," and that's kind of
and
how it ended up.
Interestingly, they told us that there was a universe that existed before this universe. So the whole concept goes back, billions upon billions of years.
What happened to that one?
The gods decided that it was not capable of sustaining the advancements that they were looking for. So it was.
So then what is the universe itself then? Like, what is just what is the universe? You know what I mean? Like you had said something about the advancements.
Are we child's playthings?
Yeah, like right, yeah.
Some of these questions are above my pay grade, right?
Well, you better figure it out, Barry. That's why we have you. No, I'm just like.
Well, I mean, it's funny because we've used the analogy of the game Sims, where you create a world basically inhabited by people and you control the people and so forth and so on. And you know, I don't know how accurate or inaccurate that analogy is, but based on everything I've heard and things you're talking about right now, it sounds like it's fairly accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Or, hey, worlds are being created all the time out there. That's what the nebula are. They're creating different galaxies. This is, I mean, it is so monumental and it's incomprehensible what's taking place out there.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the advancement in technology, like, where are we at in that level of advancement? I mean, obviously I know we're probably quite little compared to a lot of other.
We're a very, very young culture, and we are very low in our abilities. They
look at us like, oh, look at that ant farm.
And that we have one of the shortest lifespans of any of the creatures in our galaxy.
Super.
And there's a reason for that. Because because the souls have to keep returning more rapidly so that the advancement can take place in our culture. And we're at a very critical place in our evolution because of our weapons of mass destruction. So we're approaching a time where humans can either advance peaceably or destroy each other and have mutual.
Well, not only that, Rick, right. And I remember, Rick, we had spoke about one time also. I mean, when you look at we had mentioned it with evolution and how humans in the thousands of years, when you look back and how we've, in a sense, have formed and changed in our looks. When you look at, for example, what grays look like, that people say when they experience a gray, how, Rick, I remember you had made a comment, well, what if that is actually thousands of years from now just what we become to look at, maybe whether it be because of some kind of nuclear destruction or just the way the atmosphere is, that's what we end up developing to look like thousands of years from now.
Yeah.
Well, it's quite possible. One thing we know is that this human form that we have is not that efficient. I mean, we have very short lifespans. We have many illnesses. Now they're working to cure all these illnesses. So we either can expand ourselves through evolution or we can destroy ourselves. And that's basically where we are right now.
Yeah. So before we wrap up here, what are some of your favorite channeling sessions you've done? Some memorable ones, some information that maybe you got that was kind of blew you away?
Well, the most memorable sessions we do are those with Jesus.
Oh, okay.
I mean, my last book is called Channeling the Life of Jesus. Mm-hmm. So that is, I mean, truly when he comes through for us, when Mother Mary comes through, I mean, we've had some very memorable channeling sessions now with the angels. Who knew you could speak with angels? It's
right.
We've had some really very interesting conversations, and I mean, Jesus is obviously he's the strongest energy when he comes in. You can feel it. I can see his form in front of us when we do this, and it's very special when he comes through.
What does Jesus
Have
look
you ever been
like?
told?
Huh? What does
ahead,
Jesus
Jen.
look? I'm sorry, Rick. What does Jesus look like? I've always been. It's funny because, like, when you talk to different people that say that they have interactions with Jesus in a past life or in a different realm sense, I feel like everyone says everything different. So I'm always interested to know, like, what you see.
Well, he doesn't look like he's not a blonde-haired white individual.
You don't say.
No.
That always cracked me up.
Keep in mind, he'll take different forms.
Okay.
For different cultures.
Mm.
Just like all the messages we get are the many paths to heaven. It's not just Christianity.
Right.
So he can take different forms.
Okay.
He will appear to you the way that you want him to appear to you.
Interesting. Okay.
So
and you hear that about past lives, or not past lives, near-death experiences too. Because people will see what they want to see. Like if you're Buddhist, you're not going to see the traditional Jesus that a Christian would see.
Oh, absolutely.
And vice versa.
That's correct. It takes different forms, but the energy feeling is always the same.
So you don't actually physically see him?
I see his form mentally.
Oh, okay. So is he different each time?
No, he's always the same for us.
Okay, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we lead a very bizarre life.
Sounds like it.
So Barry, what's coming up for you? You have any books on the horizon here you're looking to write, or what's happening here?
My new book will be out in November. We're going to bring it out after the election and all the crap's finished. And we are channeling Jesus and the other Holy Spirits. We started off with a chapter where we channel with Moses. We channel with Constantine, with Peter, Paul, bunch of the disciples. We have a chapter with Mary Magdalene. We have a chapter with the wife of Jesus. We have a chapter with Mother Mary in it. We finish up with a chapter of Mother Teresa and Billy Graham. So we go from interviews with Moses to Billy Graham.
Billy Graham's an interesting one.
It's like a whole nother thing in the Bible. I'm sorry, Jenna.
No, I just said Billy Graham's a very interesting one. Not a lot of people would think to channel.
Billy Graham is much more interesting than you can imagine.
Oh, I feel like I can't imagine, but I would like to imagine. So that's going to be.
We speak with him many times.
Wow.
And
read the book, Jen.
Billy Graham is actually a reincarnated son of Jesus.
Wow. He was, I will say, Billy Graham, did you know, I don't know if anyone knew this, when he was alive, if you wrote on a envelope and just like you were sending a piece of mail, if you sent him a letter, you could just write Billy Graham, and this is a rumor, I've never actually did it, but it would get to him. You wouldn't actually have to write an address if you just wrote Billy Graham. I don't know if that's true, but I was told that by several.
What about other people named Billy Graham?
Yeah, I was going to say, how would they know?
Screw them!
Yeah. I don't know why I'm not getting any mail.
Yeah, right.
My whole life.
But I don't want the bills. He probably gets a lot of bills, you know?
Yeah. All right. So, Barry, if somebody wanted to find your work, find your books, websites.
Well, the books are all up on Amazon. Just look under my name. If you want to watch our live channeling sessions, go to YouTube and put my name in search, and they'll all come up. We have over 100 videos up there. I have a website called spiritspredict.com. I have another one called wordsofgodthenandnow.com. So they're not too hard to find.
And we'll put links in the show notes for anybody who wants to quickly jump to your books, your websites, your YouTube channel, whatever it might be. Yeah, on the live feed here, Mike's putting up the website.
Yeah, that's the Spirits Predict site. And we have pages up where we channel with animals on that site. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, she did that for us as well.
Wow, that's cool. Oh, yeah, you know what? I think I remember that being mentioned. That is really cool.
A couple years back, yeah. All right, well, Barry, I want to thank you for coming on tonight. And it's been really interesting for the last hour or so. And we'll definitely have you back on once you have that book out in November, toward the end of the year or something. We'll bring you back on. And you can talk all about the Moses and the disciples and whoever else, Billy Graham and whoever else is in
As I said, it's like a whole nother Bible. Like getting the information. It's crazy. Like it's awesome.
Well, there's the Gospels have been changed a bit through the years from what he spoke. No one ever took it. No, there were no contemporary notes of what Jesus spoke. So it's all it's how man interpreted his messages.
It's like, oh, I remember one time he said,
the telephone game.
Mm-hmm.
Through generations.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, again, Barry, thank you for coming on. We'll definitely put your link
always
in
a pleasure, Barry. Thank you.
Good luck to you. Again, thank you for everything you did for me personally. I want to thank you and Connie for that.
Well, it's all part of the rules.
And we'll definitely, like I said, we'll definitely be in touch, and we'll have you back on toward the end of the year when the book comes out, and we'll talk about the book.
Yeah, think about who you want to channel when I come back.
Absolutely, we'll do that too.
And thank you for that earlier. That was awesome. So,
okay, guys, thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Care, best to Connie. All right, thank you.
All right, so we're going to take a little break here, and when we come back on the flip side, we will do. I got a couple things I want to talk about here. One is kind of disturbing, and one is well, they're both kind of disturbing. One in a different way.
Oh gosh, we're going to talk about your wart on your butt, Rick.
Three things.
Well, I do want to tell you guys in the audience, I will say that when we do come back from break, I may be an extra couple of minutes because Melly has to wake up like 10 minutes ago for work, and I need to go make sure she's awake.
She's going to kick your ass.
I haven't heard her yet, and I just don't want her to be late. But anyway, so in case we come back and I'm not here yet, I will be right back. So you'll see my darkness.
All right. All right, so we'll take a break here. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right, we are back here on Paradelphia on Toxic Radio, and I am in the portion of the evening when I'm telling scary stories by the firelight.
Oh, we love that.
I am eating because I am pregnant and I'm starving. So.
I have no excuse.
Okay.
I wanted a bowl of cereal, but I was like, no, Mike will yell at me.
Why would I yell at you?
Because I don't know.
I don't know what that even was. What was that?
It affects her brain. I don't know.
Yep.
So the first thing I want to talk about here before we go, there's two things. One is more disturbing than the other. We'll start with that one. So a couple of days ago, there was a story that hit the news wires about an arrest that was made of the leader of the Mutual UFO Network. So for anybody unfamiliar with this, MUFON basically is the national organization that you would go to report any kind of anomalous UFO activity. They've been around for decades, and they've had a lot of problems recently with their leadership. A few months ago, there was an issue with some of the people in the administration saying things that were a little unsavory, a little racial, that kind of thing. And the organization was put into the hands of someone who supposedly was a step up, would do some good things and kind of take it to the next level. His name was, is Jan Harzen. Well, Jan Harzen was arrested on the 3rd of July for child pornography.
Ooh.
Yeah, not good. So
not cool.
So if you talk about shooting yourself in the foot, you've already got an organization that the mainstream media and most people are going to look at and roll their eyes. It's just the way it is. It's the way it's always been. It's getting better because you have more credible sources coming out now, like the U.S. Armed Forces and the Navy and so forth. They're kind of corroborating all this evidence that has been put out there for years, and people have just kind of poo-pooed. But when you have the main research organization keep shooting itself in the foot by putting people in charge that are not good people, that's
who's
not
making these decisions of who these people.
I don't know. I don't know how it all goes.
Background checks really?
Well, from what I understand, everyone who knew this person said this was a complete punch in the stomach. Like it was complete shock. Like they would have never in a billion years thought that this person would have been involved in something like that. And I get it, if you knew, then he probably wouldn't have been in that position, and most people wouldn't have been close friends with him. You're not gonna associate with people like that. So when you have a situation like that, obviously it's going to come out of the clear blue, especially if it's somebody in charge of a major organization. And in this case, it's not a clothing store or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's something in this realm, something that is very non-tangible for most people. It's hard to believe in to begin with. And then you start putting people like this in charge, and it becomes a joke. So, this is the kind of thing that harms what we're talking about here. I'm not saying everything we talk about is believable or true. I get it. But at the same time, this is a topic. The UFO topic is something that has been, in recent months, in recent years, more accessible to people because of all the corroboration that's been out there. There's momentum behind it. And then you put something like this out there where, again, the largest research organization in the country has a pedophile for its head. You're doing damage control.
Absolutely.
When you've been doing damage control for decades to begin with, and now you're shooting yourself in the foot and going 20 steps back again. So this is the kind of crap that happens, that people don't take what we talk about and what other shows like this talk about seriously, because how can you?
I will say really quick that in the craziness of COVID, do you guys remember? I think we might have talked about it like maybe once. In the craziness of COVID, they literally the government released that there was life on other planets, or there's aliens or something. And who was behind that push, surprisingly, was the lead singer of Blink-182.
Yeah.
He literally stopped music, which Mike, you'll probably you probably know this.
I know this already. Yes.
Interesting.
Uh-huh.
That he literally found that there was life on other planets.
Well, he's part of an organization they put together a few years ago. That's been very controversial too, because what they did was, they dug for information, and supposedly he got, if you believe it, he got legitimate information. But what they're doing is they're putting out books, movies, things like that. They're basically taking it and making it a hybrid between a research organization and an entertainment organization. And that's getting them a lot of flack, because it sounds a lot like they are just trying to make money.
Yeah.
And what they're saying is they're trying to make money to fund the organization to do the research. Maybe, maybe not. But I'll say this, he's been involved in some stuff. I can't think of his name right now. I blanking on what
Tom something.
Tom DeLonge. Tom DeLonge.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's it.
Tom DeLonge.
I almost said Tom Bergeron, but isn't he the host of?
Yeah, it's to the Stars Academy. That's what they call their organization, To the Stars Academy.
Yeah.
And they have some legitimate people from the government involved in it. It's hard to tell what their intention is, because they pepper information that's legitimate information with these books and entertainment projects that sound an awful lot like it's fishy money-making schemes. So take from it what you will, I guess. A lot of people aren't sold on them yet. Well, a lot of people do. A lot of people believe it.
I love Blink-182.
That's why. Yes, that's the main reason.
Makes all the sense in the world. Sure.
Yeah.
So this other thing, and Mike, you'll appreciate it. Well, actually, you'll probably all appreciate this. Yes. I'm the only one that probably you would think wouldn't give a crap about this, because I'm not. I wasn't into. Remember a couple of years ago when they had Pokemon Go?
Yes.
What do you mean?
They
a couple years ago
they still have it.
I still play Pokemon Go, and people
they
make
still
fun
have
of
it.
me. Yeah.
Nobody talks about it anymore, so I thought it was gone.
I still rock it.
Yeah.
So
my mom still plays it, I think.
Yes.
So anyway, this is sort of like Pokemon Go for spiritualists. And what I mean by that, it's a site called Randon. Let me try and get this right. Randonauting.
Randonauting.
Yes. Do you know about this?
Rando.
Yeah, Randonauting. It's big on TikTok right now.
So what
Jesus
this is
Christ.
basically is you put in your location in the site, and it works in the same way that a random number generator works. Let me back up a step here. Random number generator is basically a machine that kicks out zeros and ones in a pattern. And supposedly people with their intention can affect that pattern.
Okay.
What I mean is like for example, they had this, it's been around for years and years, going all the way back to, let's say the 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When something significant like that happens in the world, if they look at the random number generator, the numbers are in flux. And that happens apparently because people have anxiety or sadness or happiness in some cases, or whatever it is. There's a certain push in the world collectively. You'd probably be able to run it during this COVID crap and get something to affect the numbers. So a random number generator is basically just numbers that are put out there in a set pattern that intention changes. Now, take that on a smaller scale. The Randonautica basically works the same way. When you plug in your location, there's a random number generator that will kick out within a certain radius of your house or your location, will kick out coordinates, map coordinates. Now, before you do this, you have to have some kind of an intention for something you want to get out of this or see or something. For example, and this is what's a little disturbing about this, you talk about TikTok. There's a lot of different people that have posted stuff on Reddit about doing this. And they've intended, for whatever reason, they've chosen the intention of death. So this one girl, for example, did this with this intention of death, went to the location where she was supposed to go, and wound up finding someone who had just been shot.
Oh.
Yeah,
Called
people
it in
have been finding like dead bodies and stuff too. Yeah, it's
Right.
insane.
Like,
So
fun.
So if you do this and you intend to find something odd, like people have said, I just want to find something odd. So this one guy did it, walked, and the location was like a field next to a high school or something like that. And you have to like literally walk to the specific location. And when he did, he found a couch in the middle of the field. So like this is what this is. Basically, you are setting an intention in your mind, then running this app, and it will kick out a map location, longitude, latitude, whatever.
Yeah. It's
And
called
you go to that. Yeah, and you go to that location, and you are supposedly going to find something related to your intention.
You got me so bad. Like, I want to try this like so bad now.
So this is sort of.
I'm dumbfounded.
So, like I said, this is
Really
sort of like the
dumbfounded.
Pokemon Go thing, only with intention behind it.
I mean, I don't right. Like, it's like I'm looking for the app right now, you know. And real quick, can I just disclaimer? My daughters are watching right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want them downloading this app. I know they're watching. Do not download this app.
Uncle Rick said it's
Play
fine.
Pokemon Go.
Right.
Pokemon Go.
But yeah, they're actually laughing still. They text me about the wart on Rick's butt joke. But anyways, not to go off topic, but seriously, like that's crazy. Like just. And is there like I know I missed the conversation here a few minutes, but like, is there like a science behind it, or is this just some kind of?
What I was saying to begin with was that there's there's random number generators out there that will supposedly take in the intention, or not the intention, the mood of large numbers of people.
Sure.
And this has been tried on. Like I know the guy that I patterned the show after. what's his name? Dave. Jesus, I'm blanking on his last name right now. But with Darkness Radio, he calls himself Darkness Dave. But he goes on a cruise every year that he sets up through his show, and they do these kind of experiments out there on the ocean. And the one year they intended, what the hell was it? I think they intended for a storm or something like that. And they said it was supposed to be clear weather, and in the distance, they saw clouds and lightning out of the clear blue. So, like, I'm telling you, man, it's kind of like we were talking with Barry. Like, when your intention, your thoughts, and your intentions manifest on a large scale.
The guy that you're talking about goes on a cruise for the show. What a heck of a tax write-off. We need to do that. That is a really great idea. Mike's all for it because he knows we just do a week cruise
is Mike's
and
thing.
broadcast
Toxic
for a
Radio
week.
Cruise.
Yeah, there we go.
Toxic Radio.
It'll be 12 of us in a keg.
I'll just start swiping that Toxic Radio card up and down.
It's got no limit.
No limit.
Absolutely.
Like me.
Cruise ships should be taking your business now anyway. They're probably all going bankrupt.
Oh yeah.
They're trying to give cruises away.
They're doing whatever they can.
We're gonna social distance.
Social distance on a cruise while we're drunk in a hot tub.
Listen, can we wait till like February? Let me push this baby out, and then I can finally have a drink after almost 2 years.
So you're going to abandon your newborn to go on a cruise?
You bitch.
No, he come.
You complained about how much you complained about how much you wanted to drink, and then what do? You go and do this.
Yeah. I went and got pregnant. 2 years, I'll be almost sober. So let me tell you, after a month after I have this baby, I already told John, I'm like, I don't care. I will make sure I pump and dump my breast milk.
Oh Jesus! Pump and dump.
It's gonna be like a night of just nonstop drinking. I'll make sure it's on a Thursday. I'll start it on a Thursday night.
You know what this means? She'll be one of those people that's immediately pregnant again.
Toxic Mom said it'll be the COVID cruise. Let's go do it.
Yes, COVID cruise.
So anyway, this Randonautica ad,
it's so crazy. Like it's I just downloaded it and it gives you tips. The very first one is the positive attitude, and it then tells you to bring a trash bag to help the environment.
Bring a trash bag.
What?
Yeah, seriously, there is a list. I downloaded it, and when you first open it up, there are pro tips. It says Randonaut with a positive mindset. Then the next one, it says bring a trash bag to help the environment.
To clean up the body.
Throw away the evidence.
Well, I'm just sitting there thinking, how do we know this girl didn't just follow the tip, find the remains, and say, well, let me put it in the bags first, like.
One of our listeners just popped up on screen for anybody listening to the podcast, said he did this and he intended a haunted house and it sent him to a house down the road from him. So,
well, what if it just took you around a block and it brought you back to your own house?
Yeah, right.
Wow. Mike, one day, I'm gonna come pick you up and we're gonna Randonaut the hell out of everything.
Yes, on the street, bottle of whiskey.
I was gonna say positive. I want to be all right. My intention is to find money someone dropped. You know what I mean? And
you'll probably find Monopoly money.
I was gonna say I'll probably buy a dime or something, but I'm so intrigued to try with not a death kind of thing. It's just crazy.
Why you would intend death, I don't know, but
right.
That seems pretty stupid.
It's I feel like it's almost like people just want I guess as a way to. People probably do it because they don't logically put together an app with if I anticipate or if I have a mindset of death, it kind of makes it and puts it in a sense of the app's not real because they probably think, well, I'm not just going to die from an app, but okay, it doesn't just mean you're going to die. Like you said, this woman found remains. Maybe you'll find a dead animal or something.
Yeah, I don't think anybody that I know of, I don't think anybody's died doing it, but it could mean you find somebody who's been killed or something,
Right, or dead roadkill. It's on, any type of death. But it's insane. Wow. And my daughters responded, okay, we won't download it.
So we scared them off.
I want to find.
Good job, girl.
who's that guy that they don't know where Jimmy Hoffa? That's
Jimmy Hoffa. Listen, after all these years, if a damn iPhone app finds him, you know what I mean? It's just Apple is like, you know, anyway.
But here's the thing. I think it works within a certain radius of where you are. So unless he's like within a couple miles of where you are, it's not going to work.
I believe he is. I mean, Quentin,
you believe he is?
Places to hide someone.
You think he's in Salem? That's where you think he is?
Possibly.
They're going to. No, he's going to be in a wall in Mike's apartment or something like that. You know, just they brought him. You know, you're going to just randomly hear knocking.
And can I point out that Mike is not in the toxic. Mike is not in the toxic studio. He is in his living room.
Thank you.
Let's just tell everybody. Let's just tell everybody.
It's all the toxic studio.
It's anywhere I'm at is the toxic studio.
I don't know. Hey, I will say at least, you know, back in the beginning days when guests would come that had no idea and we had to walk them through this strange living room first. You know what I mean? Like, you know, so at least you're getting an idea first if they ever come in studio.
Watch your step. This guy's really dirty.
It's like come to the second floor if you want to be on the radio.
So the last thing I want to talk about here is something I mentioned to you guys, I think it was yesterday maybe, or the day before. An idea I had for possibly next week's show or possibly the week after. And that is to do an experiment of our own, a remote viewing experiment. So the way this would work, this all came from an idea. It came about because of an idea I had when I read a book called Real Magic. This book I've talked about it briefly on the show. I'd love to have the guy who wrote it, Dean Radin, on the show at some point, because this book is just phenomenal. Like it basically what it does is it takes things that people used to think of as magical, and he explains it in real life scientific terms. Like these things really happen. Like one of the things is the idea that somebody's staring at you. You know, does that actually manifest in a physical way in your body? And they literally proved by putting electrodes on people and having someone stare or not stare at them from the same room, from a different room over closed circuit TV, from a different building even. But when they were stared at, their body changed. Like the readings on the electrodes, the electrical charge, their temperature, things like that changed physically. So it's really interesting, like stuff like that, and the remote viewing thing is part of what he wrote about.
Which remote viewing in itself, I mean, again, is fascinating and interesting in itself. And
the way it would work, and I think Taryn wants to get involved too. I was telling her about it. The way it would work is my idea would be to have, for lack of a better way to put it, pairs of people or maybe whatever. We'll mix up somehow. But let's say I was paired with Mike. Oh. So I'm going to choose I'm going to choose a location. Anywhere in the world. I could choose a location on a different planet, whatever. Now he's not going to see that or know anything about it. And all I'm going to tell him is, okay, I've chosen location. Right. And then he's going to think and try and imagine or picture in his mind where I'm thinking of. And he might not come out and go the Grand Canyon or Disney World. He might just say, I see flags. I see people. I see.
It's like really concentrating, really. Like, like you staring at him. Right.
So I see water, whatever. And so as you piece these, so very rarely is somebody going to go Disney World, and you're going to go, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of. But what might happen is he may say, oh, I see water, I see a beach, I see people, I see a castle. All these things relate to Disney World. So if Disney World was my choice, that would be a hit because all of those things would relate to it. You know, so that's the idea. And to do this and flip it back and forth, and he would come up with one, and I'd have to choose, and so forth. And we do this with all of us, and then we could talk about the results on air, and see what we came up with, see who got closest, who didn't. You know,
right. I think that sounds awesome. I mean, that would be. I think that's an awesome experiment. Absolutely.
Because the
It's a nice
premise,
bar trip.
the premise is that everyone has this ability to some degree.
Right.
Some people have it more than others, but everyone supposedly has this ability. So we'll see.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Like I said, I'm all for it. I'm excited. Yeah.
All right. So that's pretty much it for the evening. So I want to thank you guys for hanging out with us, coming on
Yeah,
here.
definitely. I
Definitely
actually have a Skype meeting with Gene tomorrow afternoon because I have a client that I've been helping in Williamstown for a case. It is a small resident, but Jean literally she doesn't even know her name. And I have a Skype call with her and the client, and I'm curious to see what Jean can get
for
where I've already investigated. Yeah, so I'll definitely, give you guys the heads up in the results of that, because it'd be very interesting. We know how Jean is, so, I'm positive not only that she'll help the client. So I'm excited.
All right. So. And again, I want to thank Barry Strohm for coming on. He was with us for the first hour talking about his channeling and his books. We're going to have show notes to all of his stuff. Armstrong. His what?
And Mr. Neil Armstrong.
Mr. Neil Armstrong for coming on. Yeah.
Very cool.
Letting himself be channeled. So we'll have all those links in the show notes, and we'll post stuff on social media to let you guys know where you can find Barry's information and his works. All right. So for Jenna B, for Mr. Doug, we're Toxic Mike. I am Rick. This is Paradelphia. We are out of here.